Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show on 96.5 The Voice.
Say you want a revolution, well, you know.
And we're back in the second hour of the Alice Stewart Show. Great lineup today. Spoken with Senator Brian King and David Sanders. Also had a great conversation with Neil Monroe at the Daily Caller and Kyle Kondik at Politico. This hour happened to be joined in studio with Congressman Steve Womack. Congressman, great to have you here.
Good morning.
You must be really bored driving around Little Rock and say, I'm going to go by the studio and talk to Alice today.
You know, I'm, as you know, this was my background.
I know you're. I told
broadcaster.
you when you came, I'm going to leave, and it's all in your hands.
So I get to do radio again. I love to do radio, but where are the turntables?
Yeah,
I don't see the turntables.
Or the records. Yeah,
the 45s,
they're not here.
the LPs,
8 tracks. They are all gone. Everything's automatic now. You just push a button. Thank goodness we have Jessica over there.
We got Jessica over there, spinning the platters and drinking Orange Crush. Yeah. I like it.
Well, I want to start off. You've been Congress. You've been on vacation.
Yeah.
You've been on vacation, or the president has been on vacation. When Congress is in recess, you're back in your district. You're back in the state.
Except today.
You're in.
I'm in the state.
You're in the state. So what have you been doing? Clearly, you've been out talking with folks in your district. I know you've had a lot of events. I see your press folks keeping everyone informed where you're going. What is the recess like for you?
The recess is a unique opportunity to get back for an extended period of time and visit the people that sent you up there. Now I get it. Some members actually do go home and kind of kick their feet up a little bit. Those are people that come from very, very, very secure in their elected positions. I'm okay with that. And, you know, Alice, some of them represent districts where you can go from one side of the district to the other in a matter of a half hour or so.
Right.
In my case, because my district goes from the upper northwest corner all the way over to Flippin and Yellville, Marion County, and then all the way down to Russellville, and from my corner all the way down south of Fort Smith, I'm 2.5 hours away from the furthest area in my district. So I have to manage and spend and plan time in those areas, or else I don't get to a lot of them. So it's very important for me that when I come back for an extended period of time, that I get out, get on the road, and go to a lot of these places. So you ask what I've done. I've set up town hall meetings and coffees, public events, so that people can come out and engage me in conversation. And I do these all over my district, and except for a couple of days when I'm down here in Little Rock for other things like the chamber fly-in and some business meetings, but I'm spending time in my district.
And I think that's great, and having these town halls is important. And as we said, you're going to be taking calls from listeners coming up at 7:45. And it's not necessarily because you're in a hot election. I think you're pretty safe in November. You have no opponent.
That's what they said about Eric Cantor, too. You're safe. Virginia 7 had some other ideas. Let me just say this. I have an opponent on the Libertarian side, Grant Brand.
That's right.
I've never met the gentleman. I'm sure he's a fine guy. We're going to take it serious.
Right.
We're going to run a campaign.
And that's important. As you say, Libertarian Grant Brand is running against you as a Libertarian. All the Libertarian, they've done a fine job of fielding a full slate of candidates. Yet at the same time, as you say, you're taking it seriously and meeting with folks and getting the pulse of the people.
I think it would be very disrespectful to just say, I own that seat, because I don't own that seat.
Right.
It's from just a realistic standpoint, Republicans have controlled that seat since the mid-1970s when John Paul Hammerschmidt beat Jim Trimble. And it's been in safe Republican hands ever since. And I know the partisan voting index of my district is R+19. That says that whomever is going to be in that seat is probably going to be a Republican. But at the end of the day, you still have a job to do. And part of that job is to get out and see the people that elected you, both Republicans and Democrats and political agnostics and all others, just to let them know that you want to be their voice in Washington. Going to disagree on some matters, and when I have my town halls and my coffees, I have conversations with people, and we have disagreement. But we're always going to have disagreement. The real key is, are you listening to them? Do you have an open mind? Are you explaining your position? Are you giving the context? So those are the kinds of things that I try to do with the people I meet with.
Right, and clearly, recently, foreign policy has been a big topic, and it is something that a lot of folks are now concerned with. And you come at this from a unique perspective, not just as a member of Congress. You're a second lieutenant in the Arkansas Army.
That was a long time ago. Second lieutenant.
Well, I'm filling in the blanks, but you're
retired colonel.
That's what I'm getting there.
Okay.
You start out with second lieutenant in the Arkansas Army National Guard. You're a retired colonel. You have you understand what it is like to be in the military and to serve our country. And now with the foreign policy situation that we have here in our country with ISIL, however you want to call it, and the way America is now, we have with what's going on in ISIS, it's growing, and we have Americans that are becoming radicalized, and it's becoming much more serious. What are your thoughts about the current situation we have involving ISIS?
Well, very difficult situation, and it's the kind of a situation that will happen if it goes unchecked. And so just roll back a little bit of time. The president, to appease a political constituency, said, a very populist opinion, we're going to end the war in Iraq, we're going to bring our soldiers home. Who can argue with that? Problem is, our enemies read our headlines. They're watching CNN. They might even be tuned in this morning on the Alice Stewart Show.
You never know. It's
listening.
Online.
They're paying attention.
Of course
they know
are.
when America is leaving the battlefield, so they can kind of wait things out. And so it doesn't surprise me that absent some kind of a status of forces agreement in Iraq to secure those gains that our guys made over there during the surge and elsewhere, that we've got a growing cancer over there with this whole concept called ISIS, this declaration by this rogue non-state actor that we now are in control. And oh, by the way, you're going to be part of us or else we're going to kill you. And that's exactly what this whole issue is about. And so you got a lot of ungoverned space between Iraq and Syria,
right,
including areas around built-up areas in Iraq and Syria. But you've got a lot of this ungoverned space. You got a lot of unknowns. You got a lot of uncertainty. You got a lot of people jockeying for some kind of a power. And so, therefore, this ISIS thing has spread, and it does present a clear and present danger to places like America, even though we're separated by a big ocean. We've got a lot of people holding U.S. passports, radicalized in this country, protected by our Constitution, over there fighting.
Right. And
they're going to come home, and they know they're protected by the provisions of our Constitution. God bless them. Except for the fact that they're going to come back here and try to expand that thinking, that mentality right here in our country, which is counterproductive to the sovereignty of our nation. And so, therefore, I think you've got to fight these people. You've got to deal with them where the cancer is beginning to develop, and you got to go right to the core. And yes, a little bit of kinetic energy now can save us a lot of heartache later.
And if you recall, just a few months ago, President Obama referred to ISIS as the JV team. Like, you can't put a pro uniform on them and expect them to play pro ball. Well, they've become much more feared, chopping off the head of American journalist James Foley. And we've got others that are, unfortunately, probably standing in line, and it's a big concern. The President addressed ISIS yesterday when he was speaking to a group of veterans, and he says he vows justice for the murder of the beheaded journalist and says our country needs to grieve for him. But he tried to put a positive spin on this in terms of America is strong and America is good. But I want to get your thoughts on the president's newfound respect for ISIS and its danger.
Rooting out a cancer like ISIL won't be easy and it won't be quick, but tyrants and murderers before them should recognize that kind of hateful vision ultimately is no match for the strength and hopes of people who stand together for the security and dignity and freedom that is the birthright of every human being.
when and how.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
When and how. I know we've done some. We've put a few. Drop some ordnance on some of those areas, protect some Christian populations, and secure safe passage for them. We've done that, but this is all reactionary. Look, ISIS has spread, or ISIL, whatever you want to call it. This movement has spread largely not because they are some great big army with a lot of armor and a lot of capability and control the sky. Not because of that. And when Duncan Hunter, my colleague, says that these are a bunch of guys running around in pajamas, there's a little bit of truth to that. But look, if they're able to operate without any check and balance, what do you expect?
Right.
And so they lead and govern by fear, and that's how this cancer spreads and becomes the proliferation of it so much so that if you don't have an answer for it up front, you're going to expect what we're seeing today.
Right. And this is only the beginning unless we show a little bit more force. We're going to take a break. We're joined with Congressman Steve Womack, and you mentioned Representative Duncan Hunter. We're going to play some sound from him and get your thoughts on that. And also, you recently spoke with General David Petraeus, and he gave you some keen insight on foreign policy. I want to talk with you about that. And coming up at 6:45, get your phones ready. You can ask the Congressman a question yourself. We'll give the number shortly. Take a break. More with Congressman Steve Womack after this.
Keep the government out of my business, and y'all can keep the change.
The Alice Stewart Show on 96.5 The Voice.